"That man is going to try to kill you," Camron's mother stated, looking him in the eye before she passed away. She was referring to Jim Jones, whom Cam referred to as his brother. This is a real-life warning, not a slam or industry feud. And now, everything she anticipated is coming to pass. We were warned by 50 Cent. Nobody anticipated that the greatest danger to Camron's life would come from within, despite Max B's best efforts to inform us. Thus, what was Jim's true desire? Cam's life, his crown, or simply retaliation for an unforgivable past? As you are all aware, Camron and Jim's animosity and conflict have been building for years. Sources now claim that years before she died, Camron's own mother, Frederica Giles, loudly told him that Jim Jones was going to take him out. What's even more amazing is that this isn't simply anyone speaking. This is the only female who was well aware of Cam's life. Frederica was more than simply Cam's mother, as everyone who knows him would tell you. She was a part of his whole character, his sound, and his come-up. He rapped about her, appeared with her, and talked about her in interviews. Camron frequently shared details about his close bond with his mother, Frederica Giles, with his admirers. Therefore, her statement that Jim had terrible blood in him was a damn caution rather than a dramatic one. And now when you really zoom out, everything aligns up, so what she said makes more sense. 50 Cent noticed. It was lived by Max B. Jim had been called jealous by both of them for a long time, but no one wanted to hear it. But it seems like the fog has cleared now. During the conversation with Cam, 50 even stated it himself, it is what it is. He described in detail how Jim moved against the Gunnet era during the Dipset. He claimed that Jim desired the position of boss and authority even if he wasn't a true rapper. And Jim took the stage like it was his chance to win the championship when 50 invited him to do so during a full-fledged battle with Cam. The problem is that Jim has been playing that lengthy game. People assumed it was just awkward interviews, covert smears, and possibly some conflict about money or the media. However, this man openly stated that there is no brotherhood on Rap Life Radio. Alongside Camron. Is the brotherhood still in place? Is it still family? There certainly isn't any brotherhood. Not at all. There certainly isn't any brotherhood. There hasn't been any brotherhood. Did you hear? Moreover, it cannot be fixed. That one line, after all the albums, the history, and the struggles they overcame together, told everyone what time was it? Jim won't cross the line if there is no brotherhood. And who else has been disregarding the signs if Frederica was already putting in so much energy years ago? People are now bringing up Max B once more, and rightfully so. Jim was getting his first hits off the ground when Max was deep in the mix. And what took place? Max was iced out, cut out, and paid too little. Jim was constantly described by Max as a serpent who peddled illusions and took advantage of others. Everyone believed it to be sour grapes. However, Max appears to be more of a prophet now that Cam is receiving these shots. Speaking of shootings, let's discuss Camron's shooting in Washington, D.C., in 2005. Cam attended Howard's homecoming in Washington, D.C. At a red light, two masked men unexpectedly approach him while he is driving a Lamborghini. No caution. They attempt to take over his vehicle. Cam is shot in both arms after refusing. Bleeding but alive, he drove himself to the hospital. The media at the time attempted to portray it as a failed heist. However, that story was never accepted by the hood. It didn't feel right. Seemed overly straightforward, as if it had nothing to do with the vehicle and everything related to message delivery. The Associated Press claims that the Camron shooting was not a vehicle hijacking. And that DC shooting appears to be something different totally now that people are hearing Frederica's statements. Because who's to say the hit wasn't connected if there was actual smoke coming from behind the scenes, if Jim had movement in his corner and envy in his head? Nothing hasn't been confirmed yet, but rumors have it that Cam's survival of the carjacking was due to escape rather than chance. And perhaps the first concrete indication that someone close wasn't being fair. Because envy doesn't always shout. It waits sometimes. It waits for a little lapse in protection or a misstep. Perhaps this is the reason for Mama Cam's words. Perhaps she was the first to notice Jim flip the switch, perhaps that DC red light wasn't a coincidence. Perhaps it was the time Cam was meant to leave, but he chose not to. And it's more than simply old wounds resurfacing now, after all these years. Everything is falling apart. Jim Jones is now acting as though he has been harboring the same resentment since 2004. Still attempting to rework a tale that everyone on the block is familiar with. And people are no longer sugarcoating things. They are describing it how they see fit. Trying to act 23 years old, Jim is noisy, resentful, and 50 years old. In the comments, a man made a strong statement, "Dude is told old to still be this childish." He would be peddling marijuana and chopped cheese in Harlem if it weren't for Cam. Not a kingpin, not a skill set, just a regular guy trying to live up to his rhymes. 40 it's years too late. Rumor has it that Cam offered Jim a rap strategy and goal. And he spent the following 20 years attempting to surpass the man who initially lighted the flame for him, rather than honoring that path. That is treachery. Not hunger. Jim was never made to be a king. All he wanted to do was take a seat. And now that information is coming to light, people are referring to him as a Judas, a second string attempting to take charge of the team, a grown guy who learned how to rap, and someone who is now making fun of the teachers. Jim has acknowledged that he learned how to rap from Mace and Cam. You were awesome. Yo, JMO is a nice guy, we said. Yo, Mace said, I think I'll teach him how to rap. You truly learned how to rap from Mace. Literally. You learned how to rap from him, literally. You say it. I was able to learn how to rap thanks to Mace. I learned how to rap from Mace. Mace was the first to teach me how to rap, if he did turn up. In fact, Mace sat me down and demonstrated the art of rapping. Math isn't what it seems. Jim appears to have essentially simply come out and informed the truth about his true motivations. Additionally, the interviews are passive-aggressive, the side switch, and the shade. Yes, it has existed. We simply refuse to accept it. It's loud now, though. People are constantly bringing up Jim's alignment with 50 Cent. Do you recall that? As soon as Dipset and the Gunnet were engaged in a full-scale conflict. On camera, Jim runs to the opponent, pretending it didn't happen, but to actual enemies, it was cheesy. He revealed his hand on that day. Cam noticed. 50 people saw it. It was witnessed by the entire culture. Jim was treated like a pawn by 50, who is a superb manipulator. He was aware of Jim's jealousy of his loyalty and chest were few, and he made use of them. People are stating that what 50 stated in the past now makes sense because of this. Beef wasn't the only thing. Jim's tendency to flip when the spotlight wasn't on him was highlighted. As of right now, nothing has changed. Jim is still attempting to convince the internet that he is that person by puffing his chest up and tossing subs. However, the fans and the streets are aware. It was best expressed in one comment. Jim, you've been cooked enough, my friend. How will you behave like a boss when the people who taught you how to rap are the ones who brought you in? Funny. It sounds like the truth. Without Cam giving him the template and Maze honing his craft, there wouldn't even be a Jim Jones the rapper. He's now like history forgot, they are being disparaged online. No, people. Keep in mind that they are observing. Not to mention that ridiculous boxing challenge. A grown guy with a gray beard, Jim Jones, challenges Camron to a $10 million fight. Hip-hop isn't that. Desperation is what that is. That man is so desperate for attention that he will destroy what little legacy he still has in order to pattern. The crazy aspect is that Cam isn't even recoiling. He is too preoccupied with creating, managing sporting events, landing actual deals, and doing freestyles with bars that continue to make waves in the market. As the entire block has turned against him, Jim is out here shouting into microphones in an attempt to stay hot. Admirers who were formerly big admirers of Jim Heavy are abandoning the band. I used to be a fan of Jimmy, one person wrote bluntly. The cheesy video is simply so ridiculous. All the way for Team Cam. The irony is that Cam is attempting to stay relevant by earning far more money than Jim. The theme is that disappointment, incredulity, observing the real-time unraveling of a man. Jim's not just getting older. He is regressing. In competition with ghosts, battling his own history, and seeking approval from the same group who declared Cam to be the one. And let's face it, Cam never had to beg for flowers or shout. With each verse and each wave he launched, he won his. He's still striving to establish his importance, Jim's reputation has even been described as having more smoke than substance. It weighs a much. Particularly when you line that's because 50 Cent recently called Jim Individual One, which was a direct implication of Fed ties. Therefore, it's not random when he resurfaces with old Dipset photos and makes fun of Jim's music. It's a warning. A callback. Jim is being exposed